When you were saying about, maybe the milder Muslim community, it got me thinking of Sadiq Khan and Hamza Yousaf. And those are people who I don't see speaking out against the extremes at all. That's why I'm a bit negative or a bit cynical. I feel depressed about this.
I understand where you're coming from. I'm just talking to you about the political approach that we ought to take. I think the political approach we ought to take is to take people at the word and act accordingly. We are told, and I'm happy to go along with this, that the vast majority of British Muslims are peaceful people. Great. And they are the biggest victims of Islamist terrorism. Great. Let's work together to deal with the problem of Islamist terrorism.
I think it will start a civil war.
What do you mean?
I think that's...
You think if the British government was to deport terrorists, it would start a civil war?
Well, we saw what happened in, this was actually the Romani community, when they came in and sort of said, look, those kids are not being treated well, let's take them out. It started all sorts of riots. Imagine if the police went into Islam, which is I imagine it's a larger community. It might not actually be, I don't know, than the Romani community, I don't know.
I'd imagine so, yeah.
Around the country, all different cities, and said, look, you guys, out. That would be
But it's not you guys. It's like you have been found guilty of a terrorist crime or links with terrorism or funding terrorism or whatever. And because you've committed a crime, we're going to put you in jail or we're going to deport you.
You can see how it might lead to riots though.
No, I can't. People get put into prison all the time. I just think they should be in there for longer. They should be treated very different. Like I keep hearing reports from prisons where people like this Rudakubana guy who stabbed the girls in Southport. I think he's just injured a prison officer.
A kettle.
With a kettle. Why the fuck has this guy got a kettle?
Just, Well, at least he's probably drinking the English tea.
I want that guy in a fucking Hannibal Lecter suit.
Yeah.
That's what I want. I'm sorry if this sounds like, people keep saying lately that the Russian in Konstantin's coming out. Yeah. I want that guy in a Hannibal Lecter suit.
I mean, that's a different thing. That's talking about that's the level of castigating somebody who's already been locked up.
It's not castigating. It's keeping him isolated from other prisoners, number one, keeping him from hurting other people, number two. And thirdly, I think that if you were to deport a lot of the people who are involved in this stuff, you'd very quickly find you don't have as much of a problem because people would stop messing around in that way.
Deporting that's a different thing, yeah.
Yeah. But that's one of them. Or you get locked up for life.
But our prisons are now overrun with Islamists.
Build more prisons.
It's a mess, though, we've got ourselves into.
I agree completely. None of this is to say I'm delighted about the fact that we have this issue. I'm not. And I think in some ways the people who talk about the changes that this country has experienced, it's happened in my lifetime. And when I look around, there are places I've been in this country where I think this isn't England.
Yeah.
That's a fact. People can go, oh, that's racist. No, it's not England.
I just spent a few days in Tintagel at Camelot Castle, which was one of the hotels they turned down the offer to sort of have it turned into an illegal migrant centre. Right. So I went and just walked around and spoke to people. And it's amazing when you go to those villages, everybody knows each other. The island of strangers thing over there. Everyone, they say, oh, go and speak to Ben up and, a few shops down. They leave their stuff outside the shop and when they close up because the high trust society.
Yeah.
This is so sad what's happening.
Yeah.
Shit. I don't know, man. Seeing it up close like that really brought it home. And that's what a lot of people spoke of the world being like, or the UK being like some time ago.
I agree. I think that putting that all down to exclusively to mass immigration is probably an exaggeration because a lot of it is to do with urbanization as well. The bigger the cities get, the less in contact people feel with their neighbors and stuff like that. But yeah, I agree. This is one of the reasons I don't actually live in London because I don't like that. And, the further out you go or when you go outside of London, there's a lot less of this kind of alienation that you feel there. The way, when I walk around London, generally speaking, I have so many friends who've had their phone snatched out of their hand or been mugged or things like that. I don't feel all that safe in London, really. When I walk around in the small town where I live, I don't have that problem at all.
Can you imagine? I mean, those towns in Cornwall especially.
Yeah.
And this particular one, they turned it down. They turned down the taxpayer money to turn this into it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a really beautiful hotel, like with these wonderful views. I mean, it's just what an incentive to get that boat over to the UK to live somewhere like that. But other places like Newquay, that they have sold the hotels to migrant centres now. So it's just, I don't know. You can't. It's one of those acts that once you've done it, you can't ever really go back. Can you?
I think it's hard to go back. But as we talked about at the very beginning of our conversation, if reform get in, that's what they're going to have to deal with. And on illegal immigration, I absolutely think you can go back.
Yeah. Do you feel positive then about the future?
I always struggle with this because on a personal level, I always feel positive, like about my life and what I'm up to. I'm just temperamentally very optimistic and positive. Not optimistic, but I'm a positive person. I believe like we'll get through the challenges and whatever. At the level of the country, is difficult, Andrew, because first of all, I don't think there is any reason to necessarily believe that the next election will be as life-changing as people think. I think it's perfectly possible that one of the two major parties gets in, and at this point it doesn't really matter which. I think they'll just carry on business as usual, potentially. And if that were to happen, I just think on some of these issues, you're right to point at them, which is there are points of no return, and we are getting closer and closer. So it really I think the next 4 years are going to be crucial. They're going to be crucial. And if by the time of the next election, all the four parties, the Lib Dems, Labour, Tory and Reform, if they basically all agree about certain things that need to be done about immigration, let's say, and therefore it's a consensus issue and actually gets done, that might turn this particular issue somewhat in the right direction. As I said to you before, I think economically, we are about to experience economic pain on a level that people your and I age have never experienced in this country. I think it's almost certainly the case.
So that is scary.
Yeah, but look, man, life isn't all. Look, it's easy for me to say because I'm reasonably comfortable financially, but people in the 70s would have felt that the country had gone to the dogs. It was a sick man of Europe, the 3-day work, and then there's a recovery. So there is the possibility of that. And it is always darkest before the dawn. So it's possible. I just don't know the way it's going to go. But what I can see is the economic situation is going to get pretty bad. And that may be what we need to wake up. So from that perspective, I'm actually not, I don't think the economy being, declining in size by 0.7% or whatever, or having even a small recession is necessarily in and of itself bad, because I just think we live in this cloud cuckoo land where you can push taxes up as high as you want. You can disincentivize business as much as you want. And people are going to just, oh yeah, the rich. Okay, great, fine. You can slag off the rich all you want. The reality is, if you do not encourage people to start businesses, to create jobs, to create wealth, the country's going to be fucked. That's just a fact. There's no, where's the money going to come from? From more council jobs?
Yeah.
Or more jobs in the civil service? They don't create wealth.
It's a sort of failure to understand how wealth works, I think, isn't it? When there's this kind of, those people are rich, they must be taking the money from me. Yeah.
I think Britain has a very specific issue with this because it's a country that had a landed gentry at one point and a very isolated aristocracy in a way that America never had, for example. It's why they don't have this issue. In America, if you're rich, everyone's like, great. Oh, that's Andrew. He's rich. Oh, I'd love to be more like Andrew. Let me ask Andrew for some advice about how to do X, Y, Z. Right? I'm glad to be. Whereas in this country, we look at rich people and we sort of assume that they got rich by some sort of illicit scheme, or their granddad owned, the House of Lords or whatever. And that's something we definitely need to overcome, because it's just not true. Most rich people in this country are people who are rich because they've created things of value to their fellow citizens. And we have to encourage them to do more of that instead of punishing them for doing it.
91% watching Heretics clips are not subscribed. Quick favor, hit subscribe. Free, takes 2 seconds, and helps us question everything together.